WTF Wednesday. I've got one under What's This Foolishness? Document management by file name. So I'm talking here about the scenario where I'm creating a document. Let's call it Steerco Pack. And I sent it to you or a bunch of people as an email attachment for feedback. And then we've got 2 or 3 people who've now each got a copy of the document. Person A makes changes and saves it as version 0.1, which is what I originally called it, but 0.1 brackets A comments. Person B saves it as version 0.2, sends it back to me. Going back to person A, they send it to their boss just to have a look, but their boss thinks that they sent it for approval, so they send it back to person A as version 0.1 underscore approved. Meanwhile, I've received the comments from person B and I create a version 0.2. The person who did the approvals for reviewer B gets wind of my 0.2 and gets really upset because it doesn't incorporate the comments that they had made when they did underscore approved. I now have 3 documents open on my screen, comparing them side by side, trying to find the bits that were changed because I didn't use the track changes function.
Yeah.
It's just a nightmare. Wastes a lot of time and energy, and it's not pleasant work to do. So, to my mind, it's horrible. What's the fix for that? Is to use a proper document repository, something like a SharePoint library or something like that, where you can put a document. There are various options, but you can choose whether to have that document set so that you have to have a token effectively to edit it. So like check it out before editing, or you can have multiple people editing the document at the same time. That can work really well for things like meeting packs and stuff. Either way, you've got yourself a version history of what's going on. You can circulate the document as a link. So ahead of a meeting, you can circulate the document as a link. And if you realize 5 minutes before the meeting, there's something wrong in there, you can go in and correct it. And because it's a link that always points to the latest version of the document, when people open the link, they'll have the version of the document that's corrected. You don't have to do that thing where you recall an email and draw everyone's attention to the fact that there must have been something wrong with the first one you sent. It's just a much better way of working. Stick it on a proper document library, circulate it as a link, and use the collaboration functions in that document library to work collaboratively in an intelligent way. What's your experience of that sort of situation?
I totally agree with you. What I find is the biggest barrier to working in that way is user training. Or I've always done it this way, so I'm going to continue to do it this way kind of approach. Because things like Google or Microsoft or even third-party tools like Box get rolled out by IT departments who understand the benefits of these tools, but don't necessarily do the user customer training,
the ways of working
bit. The ways of working. But that would be so helpful, and it's something I hear all the time, that why didn't anybody ever teach me how to do that? And generally people are quite receptive and quite grateful for that versus resistant to doing it. They just didn't necessarily know that was an option.
I agree with that. And if you think about the document management example, I mean, that versioning by file name was quite a sensible approach when files used to be kept in a network-based file share and there wasn't automatic versioning. You would save the first version as 0.1, next one as 0.2, and so on and so on. But when you've got a system that's capable of versioning automatically, it makes sense to use the facilities that are available in there, and it turns everything on its head. So instead of changing the name every time, you never change the name. And that's quite a thing for people to get used to, I guess.
Because those of us, I include myself in that, because when I first went to work, I didn't have a PC on my desk. So the fact that we then had Network Drive and learnt ways of working based on that, quite a mind shift to then think, I don't have to do that anymore, especially if nobody's told you the new upgrade that you've got is actually more than it just means you've got a ribbon rather than different menu.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember when, if you wanted to use the PC, you had to go to where the PC was, fill in the sign-up sheet that was stuck on the wall, book a slot on paper, that's right folks, paper, and turn up at the allotted time with your box of floppy disks. And the first time I came across a computer on my desk where I could go into like a file explorer and look at folders that were on a server at the other end of the country, I mean, that's and
Wow.
yes, you develop ways of working that caters for those scenarios. But yeah, if it's never
Yeah.
explained to you how that works, you're
Which,
not going to
let's
get very
face
far.
it, we've been in lots of different organisations given our experience, but it's one common thread that I know I see across lots of different organisations is that please explain to people what your upgrade actually gives them,
Yeah.
rather than the they'll know.
And how to get the best out of it.
Yes.